What's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to our Sunday night live stream. Woo! It's back to game week, talking Texas versus Florida. I already got some of my my notes here. I've been doing my research about Florida. We'll talk a little bit about that matchup. All the matchups over the weekend in college football. Y'all want to get into them? We can dive into those. Very compelling stuff over the weekend. Cowboys, Packers on right now, so kind of in-game live watch. We can do that. Jerry's got some recruiting nuggets for you to throw those out there a little bit. We got the new AP poll that's out. Ton to discuss. Glad you guys could join us. Thank you guys. We appreciate it. Time Longhorn Rod Babers, joined by the estimable Jerry Hamilton. Before we get to your questions and comments, I know you guys got a lot of them. Remember, super chats always jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. Hey, Jerry, what from this weekend stood out to you the most? Matchups, anything, player, a player, certain, basically,
yeah. Rod,
coach, anything.
Rod, I think Garrett Nussmeier, the level he struggled in the Ole Miss game, just balls were late, underthrown, inaccurate when he needed to play really well. We talked about it going in. This is the game they're going to have to score 27 points. And, with Caden Durham out, it fell on Nuss, and he just did not play well in that game. And the plays were there to be made, in my opinion. He did not play well in that game. Alabama, Georgia. Look, I mean, somebody said he's Kalen DeBoer breaks tendency in big games, and him and Grubb are a tremendous combination in college football, right? And and a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, Ryan Grubb's the reason they're winning this year." Now, I also say that I'm not sure what Ryan Grubb, everything he's doing this year, they could have done last year at the quarterback position in the passing game. I thought they had to dial everything back a little bit in the passing game, but I thought these guys refused to kick field goals, Rod. I mean, they refused to kick field goals. Kirby Smart, he's justifying why he went for it on the fourth down. And I'm like, you lost the game 24-21, man. These guys just refused to kick field goals. But I thought the amazing thing for an Ole Miss is they took a D3, D2 quarterback, and they're now 4 in America in the rankings. They've taken a guy that had never played D1 quarterback before in his life, and they're now 4 in America.
I think, to me, that's one of the because Lane Kiffin now it seems like now he's starting to take it to another level as a coach overall, right? Where his system now doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It can be productive. It can generate explosive plays. And he can – and today Jackson Dart shot too, so it almost felt like this weekend overall, Lane Kiffin had himself a hell of a weekend because Jackson Dart really showed out for the Giants. Trinidad Chambers, I said it. I think he looks like a star. I did pick LSU in that game, but Ole Miss. I mean, that was a hell of a performance. It really was by Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. So I'm with you. That's one of the standout headlines from this past weekend. Also, and I said it. I don't trust James Franklin in big games. Once again, James Franklin in a big game, and he admitted it. By the way, they asked him, is there anything to the narrative that he can't win a big game? He said, it's not a narrative, it's facts, guys. Facts.
He's Phil Mickelson before Mickelson won majors, and people ask him after every major tournament, what is it? What's wrong? When do you think you're going to be able to get this done? Like everybody compares him to a college coach. He feels like Phil Mickelson before Mickelson broke through. I don't know if James is going to break through. Mickelson was so talented, but it feels like that, which every question now is, hey, man, can you get this done? Why aren't you getting it done? When are you going to get it done? That's what it felt like to me. That's what it's going to feel like to me.
Yeah. No, and by the way, great coaches end up getting open. I mean, I remember Mac Brown. That was a narrative with Mac Brown. Hey, Mac Brown can't win the big one. Turns out you find the right guy, and you do. The Oklahoma Sooners and the Aggies. Any comment on the Sooners and the Aggies? You had the Aggies in the AP top 25 at number 6, right behind the Sooners at 5. Then you had the Aggies at number 5 in the coaches poll, ahead of the Sooners, who right now at number 8 in that coaches poll. They're right behind the Longhorns, by the way, at 7.
So, look, here's the thing with A&M. How the season's going to play out for them, I don't know. That Notre Dame game was huge for momentum and belief. Look, they're a better team. Anybody argues they're not better this year, and Mike Elko actually is doing some good things there, I think it's just lying to themselves. But Mike Elko's doing good things there. They did well in the portal. They improved areas they needed to improve in offensively. And now who knows what's going to happen the rest of the season, but he's actually got the program going in the right direction there. Oklahoma being 5, and now 8 in the coaches, but 5 in the AP. I mean, I don't know on that one, man. I mean, like that one kind of blows me away a little bit. I mean, especially with Mateer's injury, they move up 2 spots not playing, and the quarterback's hurt. Some of this stuff, it's like last week when even though USC went USC, by the way, under Lincoln, even though Illinois was still ranked last week after they lost by 53, some of the things they do just doesn't make sense. By the way, that one, because of Penn State and because of Alabama's win and Oregon's win over Penn State and Ole Miss's win over LSU, you know what's not getting enough attention, Rod? Lincoln Riley's loss at Illinois.
Yeah, man. You're right.
That was not a good – we talked about it. He was going to get Illinois' best shot because they got embarrassed the week before. Yeah. But that was not a good loss for USC this year with where Lincoln Riley's supposed to be at in this program.
Yeah, that's starting to become one of the big mysteries now in college football. What the hell happened to Lincoln Riley?
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Like, how do you go to a program with more resources – more recruiting advantages, more NIL advantages, and everybody knows Lincoln Riley knows how to coach ball, especially develop quarterbacks and knows offense, and yet can't figure out how to turn around the USC. I don't know what the problem is. I know defense, him figuring out defense is part of it, but that can't be the only issue right now for Lincoln Riley there at USC. Shout out to the Aggies, though. This is the first time that they are 4-0 since 2016.
It's a long time.
Wow, for the Aggies. So people thinking that Mike Elko's the real deal. He's doing a good job so far. All right, let's hit the super chats. Then we'll come back to some of the other topics, talk some Texas, Florida, but I'm sure some of the super chats and questions will lead us in that direction. Juan's up first with a super chat. Thank you, Juan. We really appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. Says, if y'all can predict of the jobs that are open, including Stanford only open jobs quickly, who goes where? Also, is there going to be a Tyler Atkinson interview anytime soon? Thank you very much, Juan, for the super chat.
Second part, we're working on Tyler Atkinson. They have an off week this week, so we're hoping to get him on this week. So we'll see. We're working on it, though. We had discussions with somebody in his family on Thursday, that was. As far as the open jobs, Arkansas is now open, Oklahoma State's open, UCLA's open, Virginia Tech's open, Stanford's essentially open. So there's 5 pretty big jobs. And if Texas handles business in Gainesville, Florida's going to be open too, because then they got A&M, and they're going to start 1-5, and that'll be the end of that. Then Florida's going to be the one, though, because you have to have a big job come open to really get a big carousel. Because then you could have a Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss going to Florida, and then somebody's going to get Ole Miss, and then that opens up somebody else, and that's what's interesting spot for all these schools like Arkansas, Virginia Tech. I mean, I don't know how much UCLA cares. Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, these jobs that are open right now. They make their moves early nowadays. If Florida opens, everybody's going to be waiting behind Florida to see what happens.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. They're going to see where that movement starts and where that thing's headed behind the scenes. And then that's going to start the chain of events, unless you have somebody picked out. Obviously, if you're at Oklahoma State or in Arkansas and you want a Jeff Traylor or a G.J. Kinney or somebody like that, those guys aren't going to be in Florida or Ole Miss, really. So you can make your moves. But when that Florida job opens, that's going to dictate a lot of things with the coaching carousel. Now, I'll tell you this, Rod. Everybody – Urban back to Florida, hell no. That's funny. Everybody's going to jump on the Lane train. You know what I would do? I said it in the group chat. If I'm Florida, I'd go offer Marcus Freeman $15 million a year and make him say no to me. I would go offer him a massive contract and make him say no to me. You want to change the game at Florida? Go get Marcus Freeman. That changes the game. You want to put at maximum pressure on Miami and Florida State and make it tougher to go recruit in the state of Florida, bring Marcus Freeman in.
Is money an issue at all for Florida or not an issue?
I don't think it is at all. They're
not worried about buying.
They have a surplus behind the scenes. They're good.
Yeah, they're just waiting. They're just waiting to make a move, and this is the move after they do. No, that's a good one. If you're Florida, can you take a chance at taking another up and coming, fast riser in the coaching ranks, or rather go get more of a sure thing, somebody you've already seen do it at a high level with a blue blood.
I try to get a guy that got Notre Dame to the national championship that kids love, not like love.
He's definitely been making. He definitely came to Houston and Dallas and Austin. Started recruiting some of those Texas guys.
It probably won't happen. But if people want my opinion, if I was Florida, that's the first call I'd make, and I'd make him say no.
I like that.
And then the other. And I know Lane because Lane fits Florida, right? The offensive coach,
the flamboyant personality,
Spurrier-esque, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
urban-esque. He fits Florida, the fan base that they've been successful with and like.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it if that ends up being the way they go, and Lane would say yes to that job, which I tend to believe he would. But at some point, somebody look at Matt Campbell and say, dude, you just keep winning, man. What do you have any interest in leaving? I mean, any interest, because that guy just keeps winning, man. He's just a really good coach and a tough job to win at, and he's proven a lot of people wrong.
He has, but this is my one concern about Matt Campbell, and I think some coaches have this kind of weird aspect to their either coaching style or personality, where they do more with less, but when you give them more, you don't get the return on the investment. Remember, his best team at Iowa State, most talented, was probably one of his worst teams. He did, like the team with the Brock Purdy and all those guys. Like they did not meet expectations. But when he's got a team that no one's expecting to make waves, and he does well with the underdog mentality. And I wonder at Florida, you can't necessarily have that. That was Tom Herman. Tom Herman had a lot of that.
Yeah.
As an underdog, that kind of thing. I think Matt Campbell thrives a little bit in that role. And maybe he has kind of been able to adapt to that role. And maybe that's what I'm looking at more so than anything. But he definitely does more with less. But his most talented team at Iowa State underachieves, and I worry about that.
Yeah.
With him.
That'd be interesting.
Good stuff, Juan. Thank you for that super chat. Here's another one from Lock-In Horns. Thank you, Lock-In Horns. Says, good evening, OTF. Glad bye week is done. Is the O-line good enough to make playoffs? And what changes / improvements need to take place? Do personnel need to be swapped around? And will coaches consider doing that? Thank you, Lock-In Horns, for the super chat.
Is the OL good enough to make the playoffs? Texas made the national championship game in 2009 with an offensive line not as good as these guys. Clemson won 2 national championships, didn't have a guy drafted in the first top 4 rounds of the NFL draft. So is the offensive line good enough to make the playoffs? Yes. Do the players around those guys have to be really good? Yes. I mean, there's so many ways to get into the playoffs as a team, right? I mean, but I think the thing about it is quarterback play, wide receiver play. I think running back plays fine. Tight end plays fine. Quarterback, wide receiver play have to go up a couple of notches here. But can Texas make the playoffs with this offensive line? Yes, they can.
Yeah. It's a good point about the 2009 Texas team. I mean, that was not an elite offensive line or a dominant O-line. But if you got a dominant enough player at the quarterback position, it covers up a lot of your faults as a team overall, or your holes in your roster, period. I will say this, though. I do wonder about the tight ends, though. If I can't wait till the Florida game to see if Sark continues to use more of these 12 personnel sets. And that Sam Houston State game, guys, he used over 60% 12 personnel. And he seems to like this group of tight ends. A lot of reason, too, because they're really athletic, a lot of versatility in this group of tight ends. But if you want to run the football effectively, help out the O-line in pass protection. I wonder if he'll use more of those 12 personnel sets. So that's something to look at when Texas opens the SEC play versus Florida.
Yeah, and look, that offensive line, we've talked about it. That offensive line in pass pro the next 2 weeks, I think, is going to determine how much 12 personnel we actually see. In a weird, like Emmett Mosley's back practicing,
That's
right?
big.
That's big for Texas. He's been practicing all week. I think Texas is a pretty healthy team right now going into this game. How much will Emmett Mosley play in the first game? I don't know about that, but Texas will have their top four, unless there's a setback, their top four receivers headed into the season will be there for the first time this season. But I think the pass pro rod is going to determine a lot about how much 12 we see the next 2 weeks overall.
Obviously, the next 2 weeks you'll play much better defenses. I mean, Ohio State was a elite defense, but other than that, you haven't played a defense as good as Florida since. UTEP did things, I think, really, really well. They actually generated pressure as well as any team in the country, and still up there, I think, top 10 in sacks and tackles for loss. But Florida is really poor in generating pressure. They're 134th in sacks. They got 3 total sacks. Only one team has fewer sacks. 121st in tackles for loss. They don't force a lot of negative plays. So for the Texas offensive line, it's nothing's easy on the road in the SEC, especially in Gainesville. But they have not been a team that is elite in generating pressure and forcing a lot of negative plays. That just hasn't been something that's a strength of theirs.
Yeah, I mean, Rod, they don't have their edges have all 3 of their sacks on the season. They don't have a sack from a linebacker, an interior defensive lineman. They play a lot of 3-man fronts, a safety, anybody. It's the edges. Tyreek Sapp, who's a draft pick, has 1. Cameron James and George Gums, who missed the Miami game, are part of it. They have half a sack. And Jaden Woods, the other edge, has a sack. It'll be interesting to see. Like you said, Rod, they're kind of been one-dimensional in their pass rush ability so far this season.
Yeah. And I think it's affected their coverage. So I think the coverage actually would be better if they could get more of a pass rush. I don't think the coverage has been terrible. But we'll get into breaking down Florida, obviously, all throughout this week. All right, let's thank our sponsor before we move on and answer some more questions and some more super chats. We appreciate you guys. Let's thank our friends over at Rogue Shop for sponsoring our Sunday night live stream. You can check them out at rogueshop.com. They are bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. You can use that discount code. You see it right there on your screen on Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our friends over at Rogue Shop. They have it all from oils and creams to flour and gummies, and they ship nationwide. No matter where you are in this great country of ours, our friends over at Rogue Shop can get their fantastic products to you. And no matter what you're dealing with, maybe it's sleep deprivation, maybe it's anxiety, aches and pains from battling Father Time or from your old playing days, whatever it is, our friends at Rogue Shop have so many different items, variety of different items to help you successfully overcome and battle those ailments. And you can check them out today at rogueshop.com. On Texas is the discount code that you want to use, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. All right. Thank you very much to our friends at Rogue Shop. Let's get back to the super chats here. How about this one from Jeff? Thank you, Jeff, for the super chat. Says, if Florida State beats Miami, will it be ranked in the top 3?
No.
It has broader implications.
No, not after Virginia. Yes, I know what he's getting at. I know what he's getting at with that.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate it.
It's going to be a big weekend in the state of Florida.
I am
at FSU, Texas at Florida. The 2 marquee games in college football. Saturday. So in the same state.
Yeah. That's something I was looking at watching that Miami Florida game. Speaking of state of Florida, Texas, obviously going to Gainesville. That Miami defensive line. I can't wait to watch the Texas defensive line versus the Florida O-line, because the Florida O-line actually is considered one of the better offensive lines in the SEC, maybe in the country. That Miami defensive line, it's really good. Like I said, watching that game and watching the trenches is not an indictment really on Florida's O-line. It's more of a compliment to Miami's defensive front. So I can't wait to watch how Texas defensive line and defensive front compare and match up against Florida's O-line, because Miami's defensive line is probably the best right now. You can argue it's the best in the country.
And it's a great point, because Ruben Bain's a first rounder, maybe a top half of the first rounder. Akeem Mesidor is really good. The linebacker they got out of, I know it's not D-line, but the linebacker they got out of the portal from Rutgers, Muhammad Tor, is a stud. He's an NFL player. But, David Blay on the D-line is really good. Moten is really good. And they have depth. Lightfoot on the D-line. They got a number of guys at Miami, Booker Pickett. They got some depth on that defensive line as well. And you're 100% right. Ruben Bain is, he got hurt last year, and that hurt the Hurricanes. He missed half the season, a little bit more than half the season, but he is a first rounder off the edge, and he's not the only one. They got about 3 or 4 NFL guys on that one.
Yeah, man, he's beast mode out there. But anyway, so that's something to watch too, considering that Florida. That's one thing we'll talk about too. Florida's offensive line was supposed to be a strength coming into the season. It has not lived up to the hype in the billing so far. But obviously, just starting SEC play things, time to turn things around still for Florida. All right, let's get back to the super chats here. I think Juan's got another one. Thank you, Juan. We appreciate it. He says here, I read that Sark doesn't have an offensive assistant in the booth. Is that something that will be playing the SEC? I don't know the details on that, Jay. I don't. In terms of what do you mean? Like, there's people in the
booth. Yeah, there's people in the booth.
There's definitely communication. From the booth. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know the specifics on who exactly and how the communication takes place, but I know there's communication from the booth too.
There's maybe not the assistants that you would think of, like AJ Milwee on the field, Kyle Flood on the field, Chris Jackson on the field. So those guys are on the field, but other guys, there's eyes in the sky. There's no doubt. You don't go into a game without eyes in the sky.
Yeah, and eyes you can trust.
Yes.
So you know how to actually know how to communicate to you and know the system really well and that kind of stuff. So I don't know the details about it. One matter of fact, I'll ask. I'll ask. Like, what is there any specifics on that communication from the booth? But I'm pretty sure I'm with Jerry on that one. That Texas definitely, I think definitely has handled that area of things. No question. All right, let's get to another question here. This one's from Cisco, and I like it. He says, how does PK and Akina scheme for the Florida wide receivers?
They're good.
The reason I think this is a good question is because, and I was doing some research, because I think Florida's pass defense, as I said, I think it's actually pretty good. They don't generate a lot of pressure, period. I'm talking about whether through blitzes or organically. They just have not really created a lot of splash plays defensively. And so when we start talking about Texas, I think for Texas, honestly, they also don't like to blitz. They're an organic pressure team. They want to create organic pressure. So Texas will usually be winning the numbers advantage in pass defense. That's kind of the point I'm getting to. Like that's kind of, and I think Florida may be doing the same thing defensively, but for Texas, I'm not necessarily worried about Texas being in a matchup disadvantage against the Florida wide receivers. I think Texas actually matches up pretty well with them. They're not very explosive, and the reason is because DJ Lackway can't make the connection downfield. It's not the receivers don't create some separation, nothing like the athletes. It's that their pass protection and DJ Lackway has not necessarily been able to stand up well to pressure.
Look, the freshman Vernell Brown is explosive. Michael Sturdivant, who's from Flower Mound Marcus, who originally went to Cal, then UCLA, he can run. I mean, he's 6'3", 210, and ran 10.6, 10.7 in senior year in high school. He can run. Dallas Wilson, the 5-star, has been practicing, may play this week. He's a really talented kid. Eugene Wilson in the slot is really quick. He was a no-brainer NFL guy, but he's been battling injuries the last year and a half at Florida, and he's not looking the same as he did. But yeah, Florida's got 3 or 4 guys at wide receiver that can go. They're not without athleticism, speed, quickness, and versatility within that group. They're actually legitimate, talented guys, if you ask me. But you're right. Florida receivers are averaging 8.6 yards a catch this season, or the whole Wide receiver, tight end, running back core, averaging 8.6 a reception. That's a crazy number to me.
Yeah, considering how athletic that group is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's just because DJ Lagway is having a lot of trouble dealing with pressure of any kind. And so, like I said, and the offensive line, there are times where he does have time to let the routes develop downfield, and the pocket is clean for him. And he has, in those times, either thrown an errant pass or made a ill-advised pass. He does have 6 interceptions on the season, more interceptions than touchdowns. So it's a combination of sometimes the pressure gets to him, and sometimes that even when he does have a clean pocket, he's just not making good decisions with the football. So I'm not worried about the receivers downfield because I think PK will take the head off the snake.
Yeah. And by the way, DJ Lagway, he's reaching that point in time in his career where he needs to start to flip the script. Against Power 4 teams in his college career, he has 9 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. He is below the number, well below the number you want. You want to be 3-1. And if it's a great, you want to be 4-1. He has not against Power 4s, guys, 9 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He needs to start flipping the script pretty quickly as a quarterback.
Yeah, this season so far, 21% of his targets have been considered uncatchable.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's struggling with some of the basic throws. And Texas thought Arch was having issues, and some he's having bigger issues than Arch, in my opinion. So we'll see between those two quarterbacks who can kind of hit their stride against one another. That may end up determining, I think ultimately Texas had a huge advantage because Texas defense against Lagway, I don't really see how DJ Lagway is going to make plays against the Texas defense to be able to move them up the field. They have to be able to run the football against Texas, and that also is going to be a Herculean task for Florida running the football against Texas. They may be able to do it. We shall see. But ultimately, that Texas defense, if it can do anything like that Florida defense did, that Miami defense did, I'll give you a stat. Miami in that game against Florida had that one touchdown drive. It was like an 80-yard touchdown drive. They had 10 other drives that accounted. It was 41 plays in those 10 drives, and they averaged a little bit over 1.5 yards per play on those other 10 drives in that game.
Yeah.
So Florida, it's been tough for them to be able to generate offense consistently and move the football consistently. Texas defense is one of the best in the country. We shall see. It's got to travel on the road, but I feel good about that matchup. Texas D going against that Florida offense. Probably a little cocky about it, actually.
Yeah. Andy Adams followed up, said, do you know Arch's TD INT ratio against Power 4? He's only played against 2 touchdowns, no interceptions against Mississippi State, 1 touchdown, 1 interception against Ohio State. So he's 3-1, but very limited reps so far. And the rest of that starts Saturday. Here we go. It's Power 4s, rest of the way.
Yeah.
8 games in a row.
Ooh, Lane here with a super chat. Thank you, Lane. We appreciate it. Says, what kind of defense does Florida run? Anything from the Miami offense that we can replicate? Miami's just got a really good O-line and D-line.
Yeah.
I think Texas on defense can replicate some of the stuff that Miami did because I think defensively Texas has guys that have that caliber players, and some of those kind of guys on defense. I don't know O-line wise if Texas has the O-line Miami does. Miami's got
a really good offensive line.
It's really good.
Yeah, they got a first rounder at tackle, a couple other mid-round guys that are experienced guys.
Yes.
The offensive line is probably the strength of this Miami team, even though the defensive line is going to get the credit. I think the offense, because without a strong offensive line, I don't think Carson Beck's a very good player. So they've given him enough time this year, and it's still iffy for me with him. He still puts the ball up for grabs a lot, but that offensive line is really good because they can run it and they give him enough time.
I'll say this about the Florida defense. I haven't gotten into the X's and O's of it because I'm still watching film, and we'll have our breakdowns obviously all this week. But they don't give up a lot of explosive plays. That's one thing they're really good at. They are 15th. Basically, they're 15th and 22nd in 10+ yard plays from scrimmage allowed and 20+ yard plays from scrimmage allowed. If you look at just passing plays allowed, 10 and 20+ yard plays allowed, they're 16th and 17th. And 10+ yard rushes, they're 14th. So they don't allow a lot of chunky yardage plays on defense, which helps them. And in third down, they buckle down. I think they're 36th in third down defense. For Texas, who's been struggling on third down, that's going to be big in this matchup, especially if you can't generate explosive plays. And also, as I point out, they don't generate a ton of pressure. But I think overall, it's a really sound defense. Like, I think it's behind Ohio State, best defense that Texas will have faced so far this season. And they got athletes. I like this in the secondary too. Actually, I think McClain is a good player in the secondary for them. They got a couple of really good guys in the secondary that I think would give the Texas wide receivers some issues.
And by the way, let's update. So their base defense is a 3-3-5, but everybody's multiple these days. But injuries for Florida, Caleb Banks, their best D lineman, is not expected to play. In fact, people that cover Florida aren't sure he's going to play again this year. We had Keith Niebuhr on last week, and I've heard the same thing. It's like he may not play again. Not expected to play. Michael Boro, the big 6'5", 350-pounder, he's been out. Not sure he'll play. The backup for Caleb Brett got hurt again. For Caleb Banks, Brett got hurt against Miami, right knee. Not sure if he'll play. George Gums, the edge, he missed part or all of Miami game. I'm sure he'll play, but where's he going to be at? Then they lost one of their starting corners, Dejon Johnson, to a knee against Miami for the season. So Texas is a healthier team than Florida is coming into this game. For what that's worth. Florida's been hit a little bit with that rough stretch because South Florida is a physical team. So they ended up playing South Florida, who's physical, at LSU and at Miami, and it did take its toll on them.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Lane. We'll appreciate the super chat there. Let's get to Daniel's question. It says, what's the word on when Emmett Mosley will be making his debut? He's practicing.
Yep. Should be this weekend, barring a setback. Now, how much is he going to play? Nobody.
10 snaps, 10 to 15 snaps, something like that, at most. At most. I'm talking about like if you see him a lot, I think that's the most you'll see.
Yeah.
I just don't think. And I mean, he hasn't practiced much, and this is your first SEC game on the road. That's usually when they shorten a little bit of the rotations and stick with the guys that they can trust. And I'm not saying they can't trust them, but I think they'll have to gradually work him in, and you don't want to just throw him out there. So the coaches love him. We know that. Sark talks about him all the time. So I think you'll see him if he's available, but I don't think you'll see him a lot. Maybe on special teams you'll see him too. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that one. How about this one? Antoine says, Jerry, did you mention Bo Ogden's official visit?
No, good one. Bo Ogden, son of Texas GM Chris Ogden, made his official visit to Texas this weekend. I expect a decision soon out of Texas, Purdue, and Tennessee. Look, I think there's a lot of reasons it makes sense, as everybody knows, that Bo Ogden and an Austin Gooseby would end up at Texas in this class. The only thing I come up with for Bo is, does the situation, and I'm just spitballing here, guys, does being the son of the Texas GM in the locker room give him a little cause for pause? That's a different dynamic you're walking into. So doesn't mean you can't do it, but that's literally the only reason I could see this. I mean, everything else lines up. He spends so much time over at the Texas facilities because his dad's a GM. He works out in there all the time. He's already close with a number of the players because he's grown up in that facility. The only cause for pause I could see for Bo would be like, man, is it going to be weird being in a locker room when my dad's the GM of Texas basketball? How is that going to go? How's that going to go? But I do think if you're making me pick, I would pick Texas for Austin Gooseby and Bo Ogden right now. They also had Maximus Adams out of Sierra Canyon on campus this weekend for an OV. He is a future NBA draft pick, really good player. I mean, you're talking about Texas, Kentucky, Duke, USC. I mean, you name it. Texas is in on the right guys. they will sign either 2 or 3.
All right, thanks for the question. Good stuff, Jerry. All right, another question here from Perry. Perry wants to know what position groups are Florida better than Texas? O-line, I think some people would say Florida's O-line is better than Texas. Running back.
Jaden Ball.
Good player.
Jaden Ball.
Yeah. I mean, it might be. I know the receivers are good. I don't know if I take Florida's receivers over Texas receivers.
I sure would. Yeah.
But I know they're a good group. But that might be it, actually.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think Texas right now has many position groups that will be inferior to the Florida guys. But O-line is an important one.
Yeah.
Control the game, control the line of scrimmage.
I mean, look, for all their offensive struggles, it tells you how good Jaden Ball is. He's averaging, 6 yards a rush on a team that can't throw the ball effectively. Interior of Florida's offensive line is probably pretty good. They've just played 2 really good defenses.
Yeah. 2
talented teams.
It'll be 3 coming up this weekend with that Texas defense. Thank you, Perry. We appreciate the question. How about this one from M. Briss? He says, do you guys get the feeling that Texas is/will be the Penn State of the SEC? Oh, man. That's tough. That means they can't win the big game. Is that the – are we just talking about that's the Penn State narrative? They just got to the SEC title game last year, but they didn't beat Georgia. It was a big
Penn State. That's where he's going with this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to beat
Lost in the semifinals 2 years in a row. Had a shot to win both in the red zone. Didn't get it done. Look, I'm not. Let's just say, let's hope not. This question doesn't have to be answered in 3 or 4 years. Let's hope not. But I think this about any coach. Like, any coach that's been there a lot or starting to get there a lot, there's always going to be questions till you get over the mountain, climb the mountaintop. Always. There's just going to be. It's just what's going to come with the territory. I mean, look, 3 weeks ago, Alabama fans are ready to fire Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer is a damn good football coach. Anybody that thought he's not a good coach, reevaluate your coach evaluations. Kalen DeBoer's a tremendous coach. You don't do what he's done in his career and aren't a really good football coach. But everybody's always going to have questions until they get over the hump. Texas basketball started practice. Everybody asks on TexasFootball.com in our basketball chats, is Sean Miller going to get to the Final Four? I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, the guy's a Final Four level basketball coach. He's been to 4 Elite Eights in his career. He's been close, but that question's going to be asked of him until he gets over the hump. There's been some coaches that went to the Final Four that aren't nearly as good of basketball coaches as Sean Miller. So it's like there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, man. I mean, Larry Coker won a national championship at Miami. Where would he rank on your coaches list? Not very high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not very high.
What have you done for me lately? Because, I mean, everybody's riding high when Sark, beats Alabama. Yeah. And having Michigan win, even though, obviously, that's not a big win because Michigan wasn't good in retrospect that season. But, no, I get it. Got to beat Kirby Smart. Kalen DeBoer has put it on Sark a couple of times, too. And you got Ryan Day now, who's also a made man in college football. Sark's got to start winning those big games. There's no doubt about that. Against those, basically, games against elite coaches.
Yeah. But by the way, I want to comment. We commented on this, Chris Bennett. This is what everybody's going to say. Grubb back may have saved his job. See, Grubb, everybody's going to go to the Grubb card. I'm not saying you're wrong, Chris Bennett. I think they are nationally too, but I don't think what Ryan Grubb's doing right now, he could have done last year at the quarterback position at Alabama. I think they were hamstrung in their passing game last year. So if Ryan Grubb had been there last year, I don't think you would have seen the same results with the quarterback. He just wasn't that guy. He did not fit what they do. And they tried to make it fit the best they could, but we talked about it before the season. That was not going to be a good fit. They were going to be limited in their passing game. because they didn't come into a quarterback that fit their system at all.
Yeah. Well, I do think Grubb and DeBoer obviously have great chemistry and work well together.
Yeah.
Like they are special together. But I agree with you that Jalen Milroe wasn't necessarily a good fit for that offense. But now, man, that was when they put the big lineman out there and threw the screen to the lineman. That was chef's kiss, baby. That was beautiful. I mean, they got to replay that all the time on Alabama highlights. All right, let's thank our sponsor one more time. They will answer one more question before we end tonight's live stream. Let's thank our friends at Rogue Shop. Rogue Shop bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. They also ship nationwide, so no matter where you are in this great country of ours, you can get the products from Rogue Shop sent right to your door. They also have a very special discount for the Owen, Texas football family. All you got to do is use that discount code. You see it right there on your screen, Owen, Texas, and you'll get a special discount from our friends at Rogue Shop. Whether you are purchasing the oils, the creams, the flour, gummies, they got it all there at Rogue Shop to battle a number of different ailments. Maybe it's sleep deprivation, maybe it's anxiety for you, aches and pains from battling father time, whatever your ailment, my friends at Rogue Shop have something that'll help you overcome it successfully. So reach out at rogueshop.com. Thank you very much to our friends at Rogue Shop for sponsoring our Sunday night live stream. All right, last question from Syrup Sailor says, is Wingo a true number one? 5'2" wide receiver or 2 or 3-2? Ooh. I like it. It's a good question.
He has not played to the level expected this year. But that can, let's see what happens. But he has not played to that level this season. There's been, the drop balls, the maybe not running clean routes, maybe from a blocking standpoint. So, no, to this point, he has not played to that level. There's a clear difference between Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams and Cam Coleman and Ryan Wingo right now. And that's just being real. It is what it is. DeAndre Moore is the best receiver on this team right now. All-around receiver.
Yeah, he's more polished than Parker Livingston.
Blocks better.
He makes big plays. He blocks better, but that will come in time for Livingston.
Yeah.
And right now, he seems to be more consistent and dependable than Ryan Wingo. Now, Ryan Wingo's got all the raw material.
He does.
No doubt right now, when Sark said, comparing him to Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith and saying, hey, he could be just as good as those guys. Right now, he's not living up and playing up to that potential. He's got potential. He's got the kind of potential.
No, he's got it. He's 100% got it. He's just got to bring it out.
Yeah, and the chemistry with him and Arch. So hopefully the Sam Houston State game was foreshadowing of what's to come between he and Arch, because that's the first game that looked like they truly have been on the same page, and he looked like he was the number one wide receiver. But that was against a very, a much more inferior opponent than they'll face come up Saturday when they face the Florida Gators. All right, thank you, Syrup Sailor. We appreciate the super chat. Thank all you guys out there for super chats and the questions and the comments. Really appreciate all your participation. If we missed any question or comment that you had that you wanted us to address, please, you can direct them to the gentleman, one of them right here, Jerry and Bobby at Coffee and Football tomorrow morning, bright and early at 8:15. And also tomorrow, you'll have the prime time winning drive tomorrow, and that'll be myself, Coach Bob Shipley, and CJ Vogel. So we'll be also having, and also our man Stevie Lee, lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee, my former teammate, will join us as he does each and every Monday. And also you'll have the Sark media availability and press conference, and we'll have you covered there. Whatever breaks in between, we'll have you covered right here at On Texas Football and OnTexasFootball.com. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. He is the real MVP. We really appreciate all of his hard work. And thank you to our sponsor, Rogue Shop, RogueShop.com. Remember to use that discount code On Texas. For Matthew and for Jerry and for Rogue Shop, I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.